Y'all, it's Transformation Tuesday. And it's also big eclipse season, right? Last night was a total lunar eclipse. So that's the basis. That's the starting point for our Transformation Tuesday message today. Big eclipse energies. All right? All right. So last night there was a total lunar eclipse. That is what the astronomers and the astrologers call it. When the sun, the moon, and the earth all click, glide, slide into total alignment, right? Causing the earth to cast a shadow over the moon, causing the moon to appear to be a dark blood red. That's why you hear people call it the blood moon. Spiritually and astrologically, this alignment is said to herald or create, depending on whatever floats your boat, abrupt and sudden shifts in circumstance, abrupt and sudden changes in your life. Big change fast, evolution, high speed, all right? All right, so as I was lying awake last night, just lying awake in the big eclipse energies in the dark of the blood moon, I made a note to myself to share something with you that I shared with the attendees at my upgrade event last month, and it is this: that the size of the changes that you make in your life and the speed with which you make them are directly proportional to the levels of discomfort and disruption and upheaval that you will experience and feel as you make those changes and after you make those changes. All right? And real talk is the size of the discomfort and the upheaval that you feel may have, if you don't do anything else about it, may have a lot to do with whether the changes stick. All right? Whether you integrate them and become who you came here to be in this season, or whether you go back to playing small, hiding your light, holding yourself back. All right? So please catch this principle because it is important, y'all. This thing, the size of the change that you make and the speed with which you make it, is directly proportional to the disruption you feel as and after you make it. This is true whether the changes you're making were desired and wanted by you, designed by you, or not. All right? Here's another way to say it, to think about it. A few months ago, I was having this conversation with my therapist, Miriam, beloved Miriam. And Miriam, who knows that I have a master's degree in psychology, gently asked me, was remarking on the wild number and scope and scale of the changes that I had made to my life in the preceding segment of time. And she gently asked me if I remembered studying in grad school about the Durkheim suicide study. I said, yes. I vaguely recalled that it was the first big study to reveal that in times of economic crisis, people are more likely to commit suicide, to kill themselves, right? And Miriam said, she always does, but everyone remembers that incorrectly. What the study revealed, Durkheim found that in times of economic change, suicide rates go up, whether the economy is on the decline or whether it's on the upswing. All right? So here's the deal. Systems like desire homeostasis. Humans like desire homeostasis. You are a system, all right? You're a system. Your family is a system. All of your relationships are systems. That's why the Big Leap author, Gay Hendricks, calls our inner resistance to our own dreams and goals our upper limits, because we're all sort of wired for homeostasis, meaning that we have this strong inner unconscious thermostat setting that places a limit on how good we're willing to let our lives get before we start sabotaging ourselves, before we start sabotaging our dreams and desires, before we start blowing stuff up, getting sick, having accidents, blowing up our relationships, right? Whatever it is. So the natural next question becomes, what does a cosmos spiritual cosmonaut like yourself? What is a beautiful little alien mutant like you, just out here living on the edge of human evolution, just out here on your own hero's journey to be your big self and do your big dream before you die? Maybe to build the empire of your soul. Even what are you supposed to do with this information? It depends. The answer is it depends. And I want you to think of the answer, the right answer, as seasonal. All right? Like your life, like all of creation, seasonal. So sometimes the answer is you just need to have a season of stability and stasis, a season of integration and just letting things be calm and easeful and peaceful. All right? Not always, but sometimes. And sometimes the answer is to have a season where you're making changes, but you're letting them be slow and incremental, or deep and integrative, but slow. All right? Now, you and I both know it. It ain't always the season for slow. All right? It ain't always the season for slow. Sometimes it's eclipse season. Sometimes the rapid changes, the rapid clicks, glides, shifts into alignment that feel like loss and pain and death and grief before they feel like alignment are not even necessarily changes we chose or even intended or even desired, but they are changes that are ultimately destruction that creates sacred destruction, creating the space for sacred creation, creating the space for us to create a new life, a new way of being, a new self that we haven't even been able to imagine yet. It's so freaking good. Right? So that's big eclipse energy, and when it's big eclipse season, you've got some options available to you. All right? So one thing you can do, I'm going to just give you some tools that I use. One thing you can do, I call this one like the spiritual strategy of the life as a cashmere blankie. So you can make yourself and everything about your life as comfortable as possible in every single way you can, except the single area in which you're working to upgrade your business or dive into the deep end of success and financial wealth, or build your empire, whatever, or relationships, finding love, whatever, self-love, whatever it is, family, right? Whatever the subject matter is of your expansion, you can make yourself super, super, super freaking comfortable on every other subject in your life, and so that you sort of have the energy to be, and the tolerance and the capacity to be uncomfortable in the growth area of your life, or the most important growth area of your life. All right, so that's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do that I like to do, that I'm asking my clients to do right now, is to make a commitment to stop being a freaking dabbler in your own dream and your own life. So instead of dabbling here and dabbling there and kind of having a goal and like a little bit going after it until you feel bad because you hit your upper limit, or a client said no to you, or you did your launch, nobody cared about your launch, whatever. Instead of doing that, doing what Stephen Pressfield calls turning freaking pro. He calls it turning pro, which means you go all in. A while ago just kind of surrendered. I gotta do my dream. I have to build the empire of my soul. So I surrendered in the tug of war between my big self and my little self. I dropped the freaking rope and let my big self win. All right? So you go all in, and you actually allow yourself the opportunity to hit escape velocity from strugglesville, right? Create the actual results, operate at the level of success at which you actually belong, and give yourself a chance to actually build a new comfort zone and a new identity where it feels right to you to operate at that level, instead of getting very comfortable living your shadow life, living your shadow career, getting very comfortable with your unfulfilled dreams, or the gap between the level of expertise and brilliance and greatness that you actually came here to live at, and where you're allowing yourself to get. So stop being a dabbler is also a strategy for this. Another strategy you can use is to embrace the visual of the eclipse as a parallel. Embrace the visual of the eclipse as a parable for your own personal alignment adventure. All right? Your true self is the sun. The life you were born to live is the earth. And the moon is the life you are living at any given moment in time. So what if you gave yourself permission to just let them all line up? Let them all line up. Let your destiny eclipse your history. Let your destiny, your future story, your greatness story, starting now, eclipse your history, who you used to be 1 moment ago, 10 years ago, in your ancestral line. All right? Now, this spiritual strategy I'm about to share, though, is the single most powerful thing that you can do to soothe the inevitable disruption that occurs in the process of your transition into your big self, building the big empire of your actual big sweet soul. Here it is. You got to tell a way better story to yourself about yourself. You got to tell a way better story. All right. I gave this advice recently to a friend and client who was building a beautiful, profitable business that was taking over his life. He was starting to hate it. He was already resenting it. And I told him to make the changes he needed to make. He needed to rebrand himself to himself. All right. He needed to expand his story and his identity from successful but chronically overworked and depleted small business owner to like awakened, aligned creator of the empire of his soul, creator of a thriving engine of profit and transformation that benefits every single body it touches, while also being a platform for the abundance and creative fulfillment that he needs, and also allowing him the freedom and time to enjoy this one wild and precious life, as dear Mary Oliver said. No, that's a better story. Like, not to toot my own horn as a storyteller, but that's a better story, right? Now, let's talk about your human design chart. So, briefly, in your human design chart, alignment lives in gate 26. Okay, in traditional human design, because Ra Uruhu was aggro, brilliant in aggro, he called it the line of the egoist. We call it in quantum human design, we call it the gate of, he called it the gate of the egoist. We call it the gate of integrity. So within this gate are the full spectrum of potentials that you will need to live in the delicious feeling inside out, bones to skin, fingertips to your toes. Whole life alignment. All that's what integrity, right? Alignment is all parts, whole alignment on 5 different dimensions of your being. Physical integrity, taking care of your physical body. Resource integrity, taking care of all of your resources, including the people who support you at home and at work. Your time is a resource, your money. Identity integrity. This is like radical authenticity. Like, are you masking? Are you pretending to be something that you're not to get external validation or to prove your worth, or because you just think, because you're operating under the influence of the trance of unworthiness and you think there's something a little bit broken about you? All right. Moral integrity is number 4. This is about not compromising your values for any reason, because you kind of already know that, like we got to normalize something. Let's normalize you knowing you're a badass. You knowing that nobody does it like you. All right. And energetic integrity. All right. My favorite sort of example of energetic integrity is when we stop saying yes when we really mean no, among other things. All right, but I need you to catch this principle, because as in life in general and human experience in general, small hinges swing big doors. Small hinges swing big doors. And there is one single small hinge that can rapidly swing all 5 of these parts of you: physical, resource, identity, moral, energetics, into alignment, and at the same time can powerfully rewrite the story you think and feel and speak and create and recreate over and over and over and over again through attraction to yourself, about yourself. And the small hinge that swings the biggest door of alignment in your life is not what you think. It's your self-value. It's your self-love. It's your self-worth. It's the state of your heart. What is the state of your heart? When you love and approve of yourself, you take good care of your body, your resources. You live in radical authenticity. You live in moral integrity. You operate in energetic integrity. If it don't feel right, you don't participate in it. And you do it with ease. You do those things with ease. And the opposite is true. The more unloved you feel, the more you believe that the world won't allow you to be successful and also be who you really are, the more painful your alignment spurts will be, and the more likely you will be to backslide into your small playing self-sabotage patterns that are cohesive and congruent and aligned with the untrue, unworthy story. Maybe you've had, it's been a thought habit forever that you have in your own thoughts about who you are. But let's not focus so much on the less. Let's focus on the more. The more you love who you are, the reason that self-love is the small hinge that swings the big door of alignment into your big self, big dreams, big love, big money, all of that, is that the more you love who you are, the less often you'll put on a mask and present a false self to the world, the less often you will shrink yourself down, the more often you will give yourself permission to want what you really want and stop setting goals that you hate. Y'all, I'm literally a global expert on self-sabotage, and I'm like, a lot of it boils down to this: people setting goals they hate for a bunch of different reasons. So stop doing that. Sorry, that was a digression, but it was a good one. The more you love who you are, the more intensively you seek to understand your own unique wiring and ways and energies while loving and approving of them and without judging them negatively. And the more you love who you are, the less you judge or rush or track yourself and your progress, the less you equate your worth with anything that can be measured numerically. Income, production, weight, age. The more you love who you are, the more you invest your time, your money, your energy, your life force into your own self and your own dreams, and the more you're willing to heal what needs healing and see what needs seen and say what needs saying, to catch a vision for your life that causes you to fall head over heels in love with your own self and your own future. And the more you dial up the resistance dissolving power of the focus that can literally only flow from a congruent, self-loving heart. One of my teachers, Laura Day, says that the power of unresisted focus is literally the most powerful force in the world. And I, Tara-Nicholle Kirk, the metaphysician, am saying there is a level of focus, of unresisted focus, that can only flow from a congruent, self-loving heart. So catch that principle, all right? And the more likely, the more you love yourself, that's why the more you love yourself, the more likely you are to let the empire of your soul out of your soul and into the world. And the more you love yourself, the more likely you are to maintain the confidence and the consistency through the ups and downs of business that you will need to ever be able to reap the fruits of aligning to who you really are and why you're really here. All right? If you ever want to get to the place of creating where you get the big love and the big money and the radiant health and pro-level, peaceful, profitable, creative power, that level of alignment only comes from a congruent, self-loving heart. Right? The child developmentalist Dr. Ross Greene wrote that every kid has the same task. Figure out who she is, her skills, preferences, beliefs, values, personality traits, goals, and direction. Get comfortable with it. And then pursue and live a life that is congruent with it. This is self-actualization. End quote. At Soul Tour, we call this self-mastery, but we also call this self-love. And it's not just the job of every kid. It's also the job of your inner child and the wise inner being part of you, the inner respectful parent part of you that is right now tasked with reparenting that inner child. So here's where you can start. When you wake up tomorrow morning, I want you to ask yourself the question my mother asks me every single time I talk to her on the phone, even now at 46 years and 11 months, at a youthful and luxurious 46 years and 11 months and 2 days old. My birthday's Sunday. Every time I talk to her, she says, "What's your story, Morning Glory? What's your story, Morning Glory?" I want you to ask yourself that question in the morning. And then I want you to take a sacred pause to remind yourself that the thoughts you think and the words you say create neurotransmitters, which create emotions, the thoughts you think and the words you say create light in your brain, which in turn creates neurotransmitters, which in turn create emotions, which in turn create the magnet for the people, places, things, experiences that create your day that day, and week and month and life and decade, and as Abraham would say, millennium and beyond. All right? So after you take a sacred pause to remind yourself of that, ask yourself, what's your story, Morning Glory? And then write a self-loving story about who you are into your journal. And I don't even care whether you believe it or not yet. This is how you begin. Well, this is a way you can begin to recalibrate your heart. In the School of Self-Mastery, we teach you, we help you recalibrate your heart. And if you feel like you need some expert help, just stepping into a new story, or building the empire of your soul, drop a note in the comments, hit me up in the DMs. If you're seeing this in an email, hit reply to the email, and just book a call with someone. Just say, I need to book a call with Team Tara. All right? Because we have cracked the code on how to recalibrate, actualize, align, and create the empire of your soul. So we got you. All right? All right. I love you. I'll see you soon. Keep your head up and your heart out.